Okay, look
What's
left.
up, my battle nerds? Today I got a special video for you guys. We're gonna go over battlefield callouts, and I know this is a tricky subject, especially in the battlefield community, because calling out in battlefield the enemy's position is actually very difficult compared to games like Counter-Strike, Dota, League of Legends, Overwatch, games like that where a casual player can easily make a call out. Whereas in battlefield, it's always like, oh, he's on my dead body, he's on my dead body, but the only person that can see you where you died is a medic, unless there's someone else, unless your teammate's behind you. So it's always been very difficult in the competitive battlefield scene to actually make precise callouts and building callouts and positions. And we all know teams that have great callout and communication skills always go far, whether it's Counter-Strike or Battlefield or anything. So coming up with a universal callout for Battlefield has always been very difficult, and I'm hoping that this video, by the end of it, that you'll have some callouts for your team or your squad or whoever you play with, and that way it's easier for you guys to communicate on the battlefield. So as you can see, I'm playing some Battlefield 3 footage here of a 5 vs 5 competitive, and Battlefield 3 really kicked it off for the competitive play in leagues and tournaments and etc. for Battlefield 3, way more than Battlefield 4, I find. I think with Battlefield 1, we're going to have a really increased competitive scene this year. Compared to any other Battlefield, just because there's so much more casual players. And if we come up with a universal callouts, that way the game will really start to progress in a way as in Counter-Strike progressed. So in Counter-Strike, everyone knows the infamous banana on a D Inferno. If you've played Counter-Strike, you know this plays. Then you also have A long on D2. I mean, these are things that a 12-year-old kid that plays Counter-Strike would know, but a 12-year-old that plays Battlefield wouldn't know what to call out anything. You know, all he knows is, oh, A flag, B flag, or etc. You know, so we have to come up with universal callouts, and I know it's really difficult, especially on big scale maps and city maps when there's so many buildings. And myself, knowing that I've played in competitive Battlefield 3 and TWL, competitive BF4 on PS4, I played competitive Counter-Strike for a very long time, and I know that callouts mean everything, and I'm someone that has had LAN experience, and these callouts will definitely progress your team to the next level. So let's jump right into it. I'm on Ballroom Blitz right here, and I'm going to go over the buildings and the callouts. So the first building towards the spawn, we usually call that the North Cottage, and these ruins right here, I call them rubble. A rubble, because you're at the A flag and this is the rubble. And then that's the South Cottage right there. So it's south because it's on your compass, it's pointed to the south. And this would be 2-story. This is the field gun at A. We all know that. So these two buildings right here, the lower one I call bungalow, and the 2-story is called 2-story. And you can go into more detail. You can go with the back door in the 2-story building and the front door. So this is the back door right here. You can even break it down into rooms, like this is the dining room, this is the living room, but you don't have to do that. You know, the building gets blown out pretty fast. And then you got the second floor, you got the back windows, and the front windows. So. And then you also have the infamous attic upstairs, which everyone knows. So like I said, this is the bungalow, and right beside it is the 2-story. It's pretty easy and simple. Up here, I call it A hill, because it's the A spawn. Sometimes people are out there, and it's a good call out because it's in between A and in between B. So it's a good call out just to call it A hill, and then you know where they are. Especially snipers and medics usually like to hang out there. So when you get to the B flag, it's very complex. The callouts are really difficult to do, actually, in my opinion, just because it's kind of like a mirror effect. Both sides are very similar, and like this big statue, for example, you would just call it monument or the big statue. And then you have the two cubbies in the two corners. A lot of people like to camp there when they're burning or capping the flag, as you like to call it. And yeah. It's not easy to make callouts for a spot like this. It's very difficult. So you have to use things that are there on the map as reference. So for example, this is the big pond, and right here is the B flag because there's the post. So if you're a sniper and you see someone there, always at the B flag, always by the big pond, or always by the big monument. Now when you get over here, I like to call it the B field, and right over there is the oak tree. And a lot of people like to spawn over here when they're spawning at the B flag. So when they realize the flag's gonna get capped, they will spawn there, and they will spawn in the B field. And you'll also find a couple guys hanging out by the oak tree sniping you and whatnot. So that's also a good call out to make. So let's jump right into the hallways by the ballroom, which is the C flag. I like to call this tunnel the B tunnel because it's closer to the B flag, and most of the players rotating from B to C will come this way through the tunnels. So I like to call it B tunnels. That way it's just easier, you know, oh, they're coming from the B tunnels. Oh, I know exactly where that is. This little bend right here, I like to call it banana, just because it reminds me of the Inferno, and it bends like a banana. And you can say, oh, they're coming banana. Oh, I know exactly where that is. I'm gonna chuck a grenade down there, get 2 kills right away. And then you get to this corner. As you can see, the banana does bend. The hallway does bend, so that's why I call it banana if you're coming from the opposite way. And in the corner right here to the right, I like to call it cubby or C cubby, just because there's always a couple guys camping there, like all the time. There'll be 2 to 3 people just sitting there. So I'll call that cubby or C cubby. And then the ballroom is obviously the ballroom, which is very simple. And then you have the courtyard, which is out here. And you can break down the courtyard to even more. So there's the AA gun over there. And then there's another AA gun over there. So you can break it down if you want to, but it's a pretty big space, so it's really difficult to do. And then you have the back gate, which a couple guys will sneak in from B that way. And then you have the stairs, so you can say, oh, C stairs, or ballroom stairs. You know exactly where that is. And then you have the main gate over there, which is towards D. And I'm sure you've all seen tanks come through there and lots of infantry, so that's a good place to remember. So then you have the field gun, or you can say, oh, the stairs by the field gun. You know exactly where that is in the courtyard. And then we'll go over here. I like to call this one D tunnels, even though it's really small, but it is still like a tunnel or a hallway or D hall, so I like to call it D tunnels. Also, they have a really good camping spot where you can see down into the banana. If the enemy is at C, you will get lots of kills in this position right here, shooting into the ballroom or into banana. So when you get to D, Delta, it is really difficult. It's a lot like Bravo, so the callouts are a little bit more difficult. So up here, I like to call it the D hill, just because it's the higher ground. And there is a hill over to my left, and the enemies do spawn over there if they do spawn at D. So that's a good call out. But when you get to the statue in the middle, the call out is really difficult. So obviously you got the big statue and you got the stairs, and the lower part, I guess I would call it D Valley over there, and then towards the lake, just call it D Lake or Lake. So as we go to Edward or Echo or E flag, you have these trains. So you can either call them red trains or freight trains, and then the other one passenger trains, because there's 2 different trains, and they are 3 carts. So you can number the carts if you want, or just go left cart, right cart, center cart, and then the conductor down at the bottom. And then just like the A flag, you have the 2-story building. It's the same layout. All the 2-story buildings have the same layout, so it's really easy to call it out. And then you have a bungalow, just like any other bungalow, same loadout inside. And you can use those callouts for the buildings on all the maps, because most of the buildings on all the maps are the same. The desert ones are all the same for those buildings, and the western front, all those buildings are the same. So you just have to separate the 2 callouts for the 2 types of different maps. And over to the right here, you have the spawn building, or you can call it the farm or cottage, whatever you want to call it. We do call it a cottage, so I would call it the spawn cottage, because the enemy would spawn over there. So this is on the new map that released, Big Shadow or whatever the hell it's called. This is one of the flags, and you'll see that they have a bunch of 2-story buildings and a bunch of bungalow buildings. So the way I would do this I would name the buildings 1, 2, 3, 4. in that kind of order, and over there would be like the logs, for example. So these are just examples for you to use, but like I said, when it comes to a lot of buildings all together, it gets very difficult to make callouts. You will also see this building here on the left. That one's like a shed. You'll see that in a lot of maps, and then up in the hills. But also you'll see the barn, and the barn is really common. You'll see this one in a lot of maps, not just this one. So when you get to this position, which is known as the B flag, you have a barn, you have a cottage, you have a shed, you have a 2-story building, and a bungalow. There's also a couple other callouts like the AA gun. This one is the cottage right there, and over by the tracks you have the shed right there. You also have the windmill over there, but there is 2 windmills, so you have to be very careful when you call out the windmill. There's the A windmill, and then there's the spawn windmill. Over there is like a log house. A lot of snipers will camp there. So as you can see, there's the bungalow and the 2-story, and right over here by these logs you'll have an AA gun, and usually there's always someone on the AA gun. For some reason it's not showing right now, but there is an AA gun there. These are the 2 different windmills. So this is what I like to call a windmill because it's by the A flag, and over there is the spawn windmill. A lot of people usually don't use the spawn windmill. Maybe a sniper once in a blue moon will be there. They usually like to use the other windmill closer to A and B. So as you can see in this position over here, it's really dense and it's very difficult to call out all the buildings. So we're only going to call out the main buildings. So this is the A building with the bungalow and the 2-story, because you can actually burn the flag from what's inside that building, and mostly other buildings in this area you cannot burn the flag from. And so right there you have the wood logs, you have the concrete wall, which a lot of the enemies will hide behind when they're coming from their spawn. This building over here is really unique. I really want to show it to you guys because the team I play for, Famously Unknown, we like to call this building the pub because it has like a old school pub vibe inside. It kind of looks like an old school English bar. This is the garage, but the garage is kind of useless because it usually gets blown out pretty fast. I really want to show what the pub looks like from outside so you can recognize this building. You will see this building in a lot of other maps, not just this map. So that's why we call it the pub building, so you will remember the layout when someone says, oh, he's in the pub building. Okay, I know exactly where that is. The pub building also does have a 2nd story, so it's a really good spot for snipers and medics. I wanted to take a quick look at Suez, which is a very dense map. I'm not going to go over it all because it's going to take a really long time, but I just want you guys to see that it's really dense, so it's very difficult to make callouts on this particular map. So what I like to do is I usually like to go where the flag is and usually call out the buildings around the burn. So by the burn I mean the area that you can capture the flag. So for example, this is the main building here, so I would call it the B building because it's right by the B flag, and a lot of people do like to sit inside this building. And then you would have like, oh, the spawn buildings. So this is our group of buildings that the enemy will spawn at when you're trying to capture this particular building. So that's another good layout. And as you can see, like, there's so many buildings here, so it's really difficult to make a precise call out. You'll have to number the buildings. For example, B2,